Does anyone know who this man is? This is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is one of the most famous investors in the world, but he's a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire, very successful, but he says that the best investment that he ever made was in a public speaking course that he did with Dale Carnegie. And the best investment you can make in order to increase your value, both personally and professionally, is to learn how to communicate. And if you can't communicate, it's like winking at someone in the dark, he said. And I totally believe that. My name is John Byrne, as Kevin said, and I'm founder of Your Success Coach. I've 30 years experience in sales and business development, and I've worked in organizations like some of the companies that are here today doing recruitment. I've worked in technology most of my life, and I've owned and run my own businesses. And one of the most important things that any of us can do is build and develop our network, our career network, in order to help us progress through our career. And what I want to do is give you some tools that you'll be able to use in order to use after you get into the job that you're getting interviewed for, that you're developing your CV for. As Dan said just before me, he said, your network is your net worth. So it's very, very important to develop that network and develop the skills that you have in order to be able to develop the network to career progress. I own and run my own business. I recruit people myself. I have a team within some organisations that I have around Ireland. I'm based in Limerick, and I'm a success principles trainer. We're going to touch on some of the success principles that will help you develop your career as we go forward. Here's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at what is networking. We're going to look at career responsibility. I have a question that I'm going to ask you about career responsibility. And we're going to look at tools, because what I want to do is I want to give you something that you'll be able to take away with you today in order to be able to build your network. It's massively important. That'll help you move up the career ladder. Communication skills, interview skills, presentation skills are all connected. They're all based on helping you develop your career and get a job in the first place. You have to present yourself well in an interview, and therefore you may have to do presentations and communicate within the organizations that you work on. Communication skills are the bedrock of all career, professional, and personal success. If you can't communicate, as Warren Buffett said, it's like winking at someone in the dark and nothing happens. So it's important to develop those skills that you have, that we all have. We all have to do them for an early age. So here's my question for you. What is networking? Would anybody like to give me a term, or what word comes to mind when we think of networking? Connected. Very good, yes. Connected. A positive word. I like that. Here's some of the words that that come out to us. Superficial. Some of the times we get some negative terms are associated with networking. It's superficial. Those guys, those girls that are sitting in groups that make sure that they go in and talk to everybody in a room. It can be overwhelming for some. Developing your network, communicating with your network can be really important. But some people find, how would you find walking into a room like this today? I knew nobody in this room today. I had spoken to Cormac, one of the organisers. I didn't know anybody. It can be overwhelming. It can be insincere. Sometimes networking can be seen as being insincere. But if you change your thinking about networking and you look at it from a different point of view, it is supportive. Your network will support you throughout your career. It will help you develop your career as you move forward through it. It can be collaborative, not just from a career point of view, from a business point of view, for aspiring entrepreneurs that are looking at developing a business. You can collaborate with other business owners. You can collaborate with your teams within organizations. It's important to do that. And also it can be educational. Days like today, you're going to learn many things from the talks that you've seen. I think they've been very, very powerful talks. And if you take some of the points, there's overlaps on some of the thoughts that are put here together today. But if you take some of the points, you can use them to develop your career. I like to look at it like this. It's the ability to build authentic relationships and a willingness to help others achieve their goals. Authenticity and a willingness to help others achieve their goals is really important when it comes to networking. And as we said earlier, your network is your net worth. Porter Gale wrote a book called that. It's a powerful book and something that is really worth reading. Your network is your net worth, keeping that in mind as you move through your career. Google did a study many years ago, or not many years ago, did an ongoing study called the Oxygen Project, where it asked its staff, what are the traits that you like about your managers? What makes a good manager? And they got the study over a number of years and they asked for people to respond to it. And some of the traits that came back were interesting. But they came back with 8 top traits that made a good manager. Now, you'll hear other talks about networking, about communication skills, and you'll hear references to this particular study. But you might hear 1 or 2 of them quoted. Now, I'm going to put them up on the screen. There's 8 traits of a good manager that came from the employees of Google in their study. I'm going to put the 8 up. I'm going to give you a moment to read them. And there's a couple that I'd focus on after you read them. Just have a quick read of the 8 traits that Google employees found what makes a good manager. One of them that's been touched on a lot today is coaching. The number 1 trait that they want is a good coach. Employees want a good coach. Number 8, and Dan touched on this, has key technical skills. The technical skills were number 8. It's not that important for staff to be looking to their manager to have key technical skills. All of the others, just about all of the others, talk about soft skills, or what can be sometimes termed as power skills. Communication skills, empathy, sympathy, perspicacity, emotional intelligence. That's what people look for. If you keep these things in mind as you develop your career, as you get into an organization, after doing your interview, and keep these things in mind, that companies want people that are emotionally intelligent, that are able to communicate. We talked about soft and hard skills as well. Dan mentioned these. It's the hard skills that get you through college. It's the hard skills that get you on the career ladder. You'll get a job, yes, initially if you're coming out of university and you're saying, well, I have the technical skills to do it. But do you have the soft skills? Do you have the skills in order to help you get you up the ladder? Once you're on the ladder, you then must be able to communicate by building a network, by selling yourself, by building teams, by helping teams. And it's not the technical skills that are important. It's communication skills that are important. Hard skills will get you on the ladder, and those soft skills or power skills will get you up the ladder. Harvey J. Coleman wrote a book, Empowering Yourself, and he came up with the PI theory. Has anyone heard of the PI theory of career progression? 1. PI theory of career progression. I actually love this. I think it's so true. It hasn't really been argued with. A lot of people would agree with the points. It came up with the PI theory. It's made up of 10%, 30%, and 60%, if my maths is right. PIE. The P stands for performance. Only 10% of your career progression is based on performance, how well you do your job. He does the job, she does the job well. We're going to make a decision on an interview that they've done internally. 10% of that decision is based on your performance. 30% is about image. How do you come across? How do you look? How do you stand? Do you have presence? Do you come with ideas to meetings? 30% of your career progression is based on your image. And finally, 60% is based on your exposure. Who knows you? Who have you communicated with in the organization that knows you? Your exposure within the organization. They're able to do their job 10% of the decision. They look well while they're doing it, and they sound good, and they talk the talk 30% of the decision. How many other people know you and know you for those things? Taking these things with you and this knowledge with you through your career will have an effect on how you communicate with your audience or with your team members or with your managers or with the CEO of the organization. You get paid on performance. In the same book, you get paid on performance, you get promoted, and here's the two words: it's what other people think of your potential. Within an organization, you'll get paid on your performance. That's good. Achieved it. Delivered what he said he would. They're looking for a promotion. Yeah, I think they should get it. It's what other people think of your potential. Question I have is, who's responsible for your career within an organization, within your own career? Who is responsible for it? Quick show of hands. Is it you? Is it your employer? It's a mixture of both. I'm a Jack Canfield's trainer. I like this man because I got mentored by him, and he wrote the success principles, and his number one success principle is to take 100% responsibility for your life. But it's similar, it's the same thing, to take 100% responsibility for your career. When you start on your career ladder, when you start a new job, when you change job, it's important that you take 100% responsibility for, well, how am I going to be seen? How am I going to perform? How am I going to develop my exposure within the organization in order to get promoted? It's important that we take that. And here is a moment of truth. Decisions about your future of your career will be made by people in a room when you are not in it. So it's important that you think about, well, how do I make sure that I'm going to be represented correctly within that room? I can represent myself perfectly in an interview. My CV can represent myself perfectly after carrying out all Dan's tips. It will get me into the room for the interview. I'll do a great interview. And even if that's within an organization, what you want to do then is you want to be able to say, okay, well, who have I got that is going to represent me in that room? Who's going to be my voice? And that's where networking comes in, because it's important to be able to network. It's important to be recognized within an organization for your performance. It's important to be seen, to want to be promoted within the company that you're working for. And there are good networkers out there. And the reason I ask at the start of this presentation, well, what is networking, is because a lot of people can see it as something that is negative. But if you use it correctly for the right reasons with authenticity, it will help you develop your career. Good networkers are curious. They're curious about other people. And the reason that I put up the point about taking 100% responsibility for your life or for your career or for your health is because with curiosity, you can develop relationships with people. Being genuinely curious. Being able to listen. Good networkers would speak less and listen more. Has anyone heard of Simon Sinek? Simon Sinek wrote a book called Why? No, it's not called Why. I can't think of the name of it now. It's about finding your why. But one of the things that he says is leaders speak last. And the reason that leaders speak last is because they are listening more. They're listening to everybody in their meetings, or they're listening to everybody in their organizations, and they're listening for the ideas and the input and the support that they need in order to be able to make decisions. Similarly, to develop your network of team members, your network within your organization, your network at an event like this, if you listen more, ask questions, you will develop a network very, very strongly. And they also begin with the end in mind. Stephen R. Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. So that's what we'd recommend that you do, one of the things. That's the reason networkers do so well. Networking, as I said, can be seen as a negative. But if you think about it and someone said to you, do you know what? John has a really good network. Used as a noun, they're going, yeah, wow, he's got a good network behind him. She's got a good network behind her. They know lots of people and they're able to call on that network. And they provide a really good service to the network themselves. So having a good network is important to you. So what can you do? We want to give you a couple of tips that you can do to become a better networker or become a good networker. One of the first things I'll say is to make a decision to become a good networker and realize the benefits of it. Have a plan. When you come to an event like this, have a look at who's going to be here. Nua Healthcare are here, Brampton Home Care, HR Global, Best Drive. Who are the organisations that you want to talk to? Instead of going, not having a plan and going, I'm just going to roam around. Now, this is a small event, that's fine. But you might be at larger events. The Dublin event, Jobs Expo event is massive. So have a plan to build your network. Have a plan to speak to people. Have a plan of what you're going to say. Know exactly where you're going to go and who you're going to see and what you want to get out of it. Dan talked about SMART goals. Have a goal. I want to go in and speak to 4 organisations because the ones that I want to work for are A, B, C or D. Have that plan. Again, habit number 5, Stephen Covey's book of Highly Effective People. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. How do we do that? We listen more. Understand what people are looking for. Understand what organisations are looking for. Understand what your network is looking for. And I'd highly recommend becoming genuinely curious. Be interested in other people. Be interested in what they want. Not just because you want something out of it, but because you want to give to your network. That's what we want to do. We want to give to our network and be of value to them. Who has heard of open and closed questions? Ever heard of open and closed questions? 2 types of questions, open questions and closed questions. Open questions will elicit a response. They usually begin with who, what, where, when, why, and how. When you're having a conversation, ask more open questions than closed questions. They'll elicit response. They'll be getting your audience to speak. They'll be getting the person that you're speaking to speak a bit more. And listen. Wrong button. Listen to the answer. We're given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because we should listen twice as much as we speak. Listen to the answers to allow you to develop the conversation and add value to the person or people that you are speaking to. One of the best things that we can do about networking immediately is to make the decision to become better at it, to become recognized within our industry, within our organization. It was touched on within the LinkedIn presentation earlier on today. To become a thought leader, to be seen. But if you must first make the decision to become a better networker and practice networking, listening more. Commit to it. Have a plan on exactly how you're going to do it, and you will succeed at developing that network in order to be able to progress your career over the years ahead. My name is John Byrne. The business is Your Success Coach. If you're looking to develop your presentation skills, interview skills, communication skills, and networking skills, do get in touch. Thank you for your time.